Hello and welcome everybody, this is Brilliant. Thank you for watching my 6th, I believe, video about playing a center in NBA 2K13. Today I wanted to talk to you about signature skills, but then two things occurred to me. One is that I realized that I already talked about signature skills in one of my videos, check them out, or check it out. The other thing is that I played a game against the Brooklyn Nets. And on this occasion, I thought that maybe I could talk a bit about momentum in the game, difficulty in the game, and then, of course, about the Brooklyn Nets themselves. Now, first of all, momentum. There are two types of momentum, of course. One is that you can check between games. If you check your roster, if your team is on a winning streak, then the guys in your roster will have a green arrow and +1, +2, +3 next to their names. This basically means that your team is winning matches or games, and everybody on your team gets a boost to their attributes. Now the other type is of course one that happens within games. Now what is momentum? Basically just think about it as a boost to your morale or a kind of debuff to your morale if you're on the wrong end of a momentum run. That means that if you are on a momentum run, then all of your attributes go up, and if the opposing team has a momentum run, then all of your attributes go down and their attributes go up. Okay, first of all, how do you spot a run in the game? Well, there are smaller and bigger runs. The smaller ones are hard to spot because it's like one team scores 6 points and then everything goes on as usual, back to normal, so to speak. And the bigger ones are of course easier to spot because then suddenly one team scores 15 points more than the other one. If you check these little broadcast texts that they display on the screen, you can see that they display these when there is a difference of 9 points. So at least 10 to 0 or 13 to 4 or 16 to 6 kind of thing, or even more or a larger difference. So it becomes significant when the difference is about 9 or 10 points. But there are of course other ways to spot the beginning of a run. These two ways are listening to the broadcasters and listening to the crowd, because the broadcasters always say little tips about starting or stopping a momentum run, like they are hitting out from outside, or they really need to score a point to snap this cold streak or something like that. This relates to, or this hints at the momentum runs. So listen to the broadcasters. They are not there just for flavor, they actually give you nice information if you listen to them. The other part is the crowd. Let's say that you are the home team, meaning the crowd is cheering for you. Now, if they start to cheer really loudly, that means that you are on a run. If they are just humming, then there is no run. Both teams are kind of equal. And if they go really silent, or especially if they start booing, well, if they start booing and you are the home team, so they boo their own team, that means that all hell is breaking loose. You are on the very wrong end of a run, but you will notice this from the score as well. So basically the crowd is like a good measure of the momentum runs. Now, what actually happens during a run? Let's say that you are up by 10 points and you are the home team, and then suddenly the opposing team goes on a run. What you will notice is that your teammates will start making silly mistakes, like instead of passing you, you are sending way open under the basket, but they don't pass to you. Instead they shoot a contested fadeaway turnaround 3-pointer with 2 defenders on them, or you turn over the ball for example, you as a center get the pass and you immediately lose the ball. Now this of course means that this is most probably not your fault. Nothing you can do about it, because if you get the pass and the ball is immediately stolen from you, then what did you do wrong? I mean, you touched the ball and immediately it was stolen. It's not your fault all the time, because either you will perform moves that you didn't want to do, but you still did it for some reason, or your teammates will do silly things and you cannot control them. So these examples are, you take silly contested, your teammates make silly contested shots, they don't pass you the ball suddenly, or you pass to a open teammate and you like throw it to the third row of the crowd, so you miss your pass by 10 feet, you lose the ball, you pass it to the backboard, go up for a layup, or I don't know, like a spin layup or a euro step, and then the ball just drops from your hands and stuff like that. Your teammates dribble the ball backwards and it's a backcourt violation, or they go out of bounds, but it doesn't happen just once, so it happens as a series of events. Or it might happen, it's not guaranteed that it's this obvious, but if these start to happen in a row, many of them in a row, then that means that you are in trouble. And on the other hand, the opposing team who has the run, who is on the run, suddenly make the contested shots, they steal the ball from you, they block you, and basically everything seems to work for them and nothing for you. The next important thing, of course, is how do you stop these momentum runs from happening, or in your favor, how do you start them? Well, I found that the best way to start a run is to perform spectacular stuff, like a fast break, or a series of blocks, or a series of steals, or dunks, of course, and this is where playing a center can be a good significant role, because you can do a lot of blocks, you can get rebounds, meaning stop the opponents from scoring and scoring and scoring, and of course you can perform dunks the easiest way, with a standing dunk under the basket, so it is you who has the easiest job doing a dunk. Now the next thing, of course, is how do you stop a momentum run? Well, you can try to use voodoo or pray. You can try to increase your defensive intensity, I mean trying to help defend other players of the opposing team, or of course you can milk the clock or call a timeout and hope that it works. Now the last thing about the momentum in the game is the question, why does it exist? Well, for two reasons. One is that it adds a bit of realism to the game, because momentum runs, or well, runs happen in almost every NBA game in real life. Even in special cases, just remember when the Dallas Mavericks won the championship, they had one elimination game in the playoffs when they were down by 20 at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and then yet they went on to win the game. So it does happen in every NBA game, even in the playoffs. Now the other reason for the existence of momentum is to give a sort of chance to each team in the game, meaning that thanks to these runs, it's at higher difficulties at least, it's impossible to, or really difficult, really rare, that you blow out a team by 20 or 30 points. Because even if you are playing, I don't know, the Lakers or the Miami Heat or the Bucks against, I don't know, New Orleans Hornets or Charlotte Bobcats or whatever team, so the really worst teams in the NBA, no offense, but even if you go on around and it seems like this will be a blowout, uh, the opposing team actually has a chance to come back thanks to this momentum. So this is basically a thing that is in the game and it's not controlled by you. You can try to influence it, but it's basically controlled by the computer, because he controls it controls the game, the flow of the game, and of course your teammates in MyCareer mode. And of course, if you haven't noticed already, these momentum runs happen in almost every game that you play. This is the reason why, for example, if I'm up or my team is up by 15 points at the end of the first quarter, then I know that this is gonna be a hell of a game, as in a really difficult game, because it seems that it will be a blowout and there will be momentum run, it's guaranteed. So if I'm up by 15 points in the first quarter, then it's not a good sign. So we can say that momentum is here in the game to increase difficulty. Difficulty is the part where the Brooklyn Nets come into play. They have become my nemesis, and I really hate them. I hate them more than the Philadelphia 76ers. The Brooklyn Nets, the match that is playing in the background, in my opinion, the team is more powerful, so to speak, than it should be. I mean, the Brooklyn Nets is not a bad team, of course, in real life. I like their jerseys and their logo and everything. I like some of their players, but if you play a quick game, there is a sort of ranking for each of the teams. Like, for example, in the case of Brooklyn Nets, they are 17th in defense in the league. Now, you would think that they are basically at the bottom half of the league. Their defense should not be that good. However, just check the game, and from now on I will switch to sort of live commentary of the game, and I of course did this editing of this game, highlighting not only my team's nice moves, but the other moves that the Brooklyn Nets had. And this is why it's such a long video. And if you check them, there are so many moves which are like, how did that happen? Or did Darren Williams just block me? Or how did he get that rebound between 3 of my teammates, including me, and including Ilyasova, and including, I don't know, whoever, 3 big guys and 1 Brooklyn Net big guy, and he gets the rebound and puts it back and probably gets a foul. I don't really even remember. So how does that happen?
He feeds it to Wallace. Johnson, Dallenberg covering. The kick out to Williams. The 3 is launched. Milwaukee with the rebound. Thunder's got his 5th rebound right now in the game. We talked about Monte blending in offensively. He's a good passer.
Just look at this rebound, for example, by Humphrey. By the way, all of these things are what make the game difficult against certain teams, and there is nothing wrong with them if it's justified. But against the Brooklyn Nets, basically everything that makes the game difficult happens at once. So it's a bit too obvious in my opinion. For example, undefendable alley-oops. And how often do you see a wide open 3-point shooter shoot an airball? So basically I'm showing you all of this to sort of show how difficulty works in the game, or in my opinion. Of course I'm not a game designer, but in every game which is a simulation of a team game. Now, first of all, I believe that there are 2 types of difficulty in the game. One type consists of things that affect you or your character in the game, and you basically have a bit of control over them. And the other type is consists of things that affect your teammates and or your opposing team. These are things that you have less control of, and one of these things is the momentum that I mentioned. Now, things that affect you, and as an example in the game, is, for example, making you feel uncomfortable. Now, how do you make a center feel uncomfortable in the game? You first of all deny his freedom of movement. This happens in the game when, of course, big guys can push you out of the paint quite easily and quite fiercely. You can counter it by creating a heavier player or adding strength or quickness, maybe, I don't know, defensive or offensive awareness. And on rebounding, of course, getting scrapper and increasing your rebounding and pressing the right buttons. Now, with the Brooklyn Nets, the problem is that it doesn't only happen with big guys, it happens with the smaller guys as well. So basically, everybody in the Brooklyn Nets seems to have, let's say, about 90 strength. So they bump into you very heavily. This, of course, doesn't show on their stat sheets, but it certainly feels that way in the game. Now, the other part within this category, meaning difficulty that affects you, your character, directly in the game, is when moves that worked earlier suddenly stop working, like the unstoppable up and under in this game against the Brooklyn Nets stops working. Of course, I do score from up and unders, but like 50% of them gets blocked. Of course, I can increase my stat. I can later build an arsenal of, I don't know, mid-range shots so that I can spread the floor. And of course, it is, you can say that it's basically my fault that I don't try something else. Why do I try up and unders if they don't work? Well, you are right, but it still seems a bit strange that suddenly an unblockable and unstoppable move becomes very much stoppable multiple times within the same game. And just to make this clear, I'm not saying this because I'm complaining that my cheese move is suddenly not so cheese. I'm simply saying that this should happen consistently, not only with one team. So basically this is a type of difficulty that affects your character directly, and of course by increasing your stats or doing different moves, trying harder can have a positive effect on your performance, so nothing wrong with that. Now, of course, the other type of difficulty, for example this rebound, is when the difficulty happens so that it is not in your control. For example, what exactly is Daniels doing? I mean, he never dribbles the ball. Why did he suddenly decide that it's a good idea to take on the opposing team 1 versus 4? Now, the second category of difficulty is, of course, tied very closely with the momentum. But as you can see in this match, there is no momentum. I mean, we are going head to head. But please note that at this point, Chris Humphries gets injured and he's subbed out of the game, but he will of course return with a vengeance. And by the way, in this game, us, the Bucks, are on a like 4-game winning streak, so everybody has a boost to their stats. Now again, this second type of difficulty, the best thing that you can do is keep your cool. Because there is really not much else that you can do against it, apart from trying your best, trying not to break your controller or keyboard or whatever, and survive. And now let's see some examples. Just on this replay in the highlights, check out the rebound by Lopez. I mean, did we not try hard enough? I mean, there were only 3 of us against 1 of them. And he still got the rebound. And the score, of course. apart from keeping your cool, the only other solution that you can do is search for the players, of course, that seem to have a bit of a hot hand. If it's you, then try your best. If it's someone else, then try to bring them into the game and try to support them. Now, in this match, it was luckily me and also Monte Ellis. You will see at the end of the game what I mean. And of course, the other thing that you can try is shut down the opposing team's hot hands with double teams, intense defense, and boxing out and everything that is at your disposal to do so. And of course, as always, you can try calling a timeout or milking the clock. Not that it works, by the way, but it's worth a try.
And there's the rejection. They recover it. Sinks it from just inside the baseline.
They could have taken Harrison Barnes, for example, at 6, had him on a rookie contract, and arguably have had the better player. And
no idea why our coach called this inbound play. So from now on, it's clearly up to Jennings, Monte Ellis and me to win the game. Now, of course, shutting down the opposing team's hot hands can be quite hard if everybody is feeling hot from their team. For example, check out Humphries, who just got injured in the last quarter, may I remind you, get the rebound over me. Or you might consider Darren Williams, who, being a point guard, just had about at least 3 blocks in this game. I mean, superhuman performance from his part as well.
The Nets with the lead. And here is Williams. Shot denied. And up the court come the Bucks on the break. Ellis with the ball to tie it up.
Ilyasova passing out of a layup to Monte Ellis under the basket with 2 tall guys around them. Interesting.
Makes it, and the next one could tie it up. And it's tied up with that one. Here is Williams. Wallace right side. Kicks it out to Johnson. Launches it. Out of bounds. Milwaukee takes possession. The Bucks have gotten into a pretty good groove, going 6 of 10 here in the final quarter. Jennings against Williams. Jennings can't get it to go.
tough D on the inside.
Put up a roadblock, a construction barrel right there. That's what he brings defensively.
Wallace, the pass to Lopez. Kicks it out to Johnson. Back down.
Again, I hate to repeat myself, but that's Chris Humphries getting the offensive rebound from Ilyasova, the double-double machine. And then there is another block from Darren Williams.
And here's Ellis for 3, and that one's good. They got on this roll a while ago, and they just haven't looked back.
Boy, they just
And as you could hear, this comment hinted that we are actually starting to go on a run, on a momentum run, following a spectacular three-pointer by Monte Ellis. So a three-pointer can also trigger momentum. And of course my bad defense can immediately break it. So basically the point I'm trying to make is that there are different types of difficulty in this game, apart from of course your difficulty settings like All-Star and Superstar and whatever. And some of them you can do something about, some of them you can only try to do something about and then hope for the best. My only problem is that even considering momentum, certain teams, and especially, yes, the Brooklyn Nets, are overpowered in this game, and their settings are not correct. And I even don't have a problem with it, but I do have a problem with the reason behind it. I mean, let me just remind you quickly.
Well, a new city, a new logo and color scheme for the Nets. It looks kind of sharp and snappy from where I'm standing. Very simple with just the black and the white.
Going back to the Nets logo, owner JayZ designed it, and he does well to bridge the past with, Steve, what they hope is a new beginning.
This logo, this franchise, this look will really catch on with fans quickly.
Oh yeah, and let's not forget the other quote from this game.
And they tip it off with style, Clark, to inaugurate the Barclays Center grand opening, a series of concerts by Nets co-owner and multi-platinum record artist JayZ.
And what better way to celebrate than that? Just a ton of excitement around the city, the arena, and this team. I'll tell you what, it's going to be fun to be a part of it all.
Now, this kind of reminds me of another quote that I heard in a certain movie that you might have heard of, and warning, explicit lyrics.
Well, let's not start sucking each other's dicks quite yet.
So basically, all of this unfair advantage for a certain team, the Brooklyn Nets, which is co-owned, and the logo, the famous logo, is designed by the executive producer of the NBA 2K13 game. It's a bit too much. I mean, don't get me wrong, and I want to make this clear. I don't hate the Brooklyn Nets. In real life, I actually root for them. I like quite a lot of their players, but I want to punish them in the game, just like I punished Chris Humphries of this dunk, adding insult to injury of his injury. So this type of unfair advantage for the Brooklyn Nets has the opposing effect that JayZ wanted to achieve, and yes, I am quite sure that was influenced by JayZ. Of course, it's just a game, why should I care? I'm disturbed by these things. This is my personality. I don't like to see quite obvious sign of unfair advantage. Of course, in this game, and again, don't get me wrong, I know I made a lot of mistakes. I know I tried to use cheesy moves like the up and under, and I know that there can be close games, but on the other hand, I did play against them on the PS3 as well, again with the Bucks as a center. I believe that we are in the same conference, so we play a lot against each other. I don't know how many times within a season, and trust me, this one was one of the easiest games that I played against them. So we quite often get blown out by them by, I don't know, 15-20 points, and there's nothing I can do about it, because it's not a fair advantage, or it's not a fair fight. It's an unfair well, competition. We basically could only beat this team in this match by and I'm not going to spoil too much now at the end of the game, by me scoring over 30 points, by Monte Ellis actually scoring 49 points, and yeah, I did not, of course, alter the difficulty, so it's still on superstar difficulty before you ask. And no, I did not restart this game or anything, but this was really a frustrating game, and this is, like I said, one of the best or the better games that I ever could have against Brooklyn Nets. Luckily, at the end of the game, the computer or the coding actually gave up, so you can see that the final results of the game will be a bit more comfortable, so we don't win by 1 point, and yes, we will win the game because it's close to the end. Again, just look at that. Yeah, I dropped the ball instantly when I get it, but it doesn't matter now, because yes, we will win the game. Yes, we will go into the free throw stuff at the end, so again, undefendable last minute alley-oop. I mean, I would believe that Wallace would be quite tired at the end of the game, but no, he's not. They are still doing alley-oops, and so basically this is something that I hope that will never happen in further 2K13 games, and I'm also not against JayZ, but like I said, I'm certain that this is actually no coincidence. So if he remains the executive producer of the game, and the next game will be like this, then I'm not going to buy 2K15, or at least I'm going to hate the Brooklyn Nets even more than I do now in the game. So I hope you enjoyed my little, well, not so little rant video about the Brooklyn Nets, and I hope that the momentum and defense tips were somewhat useful to you. If you're a Brooklyn Nets fan, then I'm sorry. Like I said, I root for them in real life, and I hope to see you next time.